Hello friends, I welcome you all on my lecture on microstrip lines analysis and design. Objectives of today's lecture is students should able to analyze and design microstrip lines. So already in my previous lecture on a strip lines we have seen why we need a transmission lines. That is, transmission lines are needed to connect the one component of a circuit to the another component, as well as they are used to connect one circuit to the another circuit. So when we want these transmission lines in a planar format, then we are having the options like microstrip lines. We can have an a strip lines. We can have an coplanar lines. We can have an slotted lines. So in that way, we are having some planar transmission lines. So out of that, the strip line design and analysis of the strip line that we have seen in the last lecture. Now we are moving to the microstrip lines. So first of all, we'll see what is the structure of this microstrip lines. So this microstrip line is in a three-layer structure. The upper conductor or upper conducting path, that is called as a this upper conducting path is called as a microstrip line. It is deposited over a dielectric substrate. It is deposited over a dielectric substrate having the height equals to h, and this dielectric substrate is supported by a ground, or it is based on a ground. So it is ground based dielectric substrate. Now see, whenever we are exciting these lines, then whatever the signal radiated through this line or transmitted through this line, that signal have come in contact with two dielectric mediums. The first dielectric medium, that is a physical dielectric that we are using below the line, and above the line, as this line is open to the air, then above the line there is another one dielectric that is called as a air. So whenever the signal travels through this line, through this microstrip line, or propagates through this microstrip line, the signal has come in contact with the two dielectric materials. One is air and one is a dielectric material that we are used for the construction of this line. So the total dielectric material which is used within this microstrip line, it is called as an inhomogeneous dielectric, because one of the dielectric is air and one of the dielectric which we are using for construction of this microstrip line. So this microstrip line consists of inhomogeneous dielectric material. So because of this inhomogeneous dielectric material, there is a no perfect TEM mode propagation is possible. No perfect TEM mode propagation is possible, because to have a perfect TEM mode of propagation, the electric field and magnetic field, all lines of electric field and magnetic field should propagate or should travel in the same dielectric media, but here we can say, here the dielectric media, there are two dielectric medias like air and actual dielectric material. So as there are two dielectrics, then all field lines of this electric field and magnetic field are not will not travel or propagate through the same type of media. Some of the lines will travel through the air and some of the lines will travel through an dielectric material. So there is no perfect TM mode is possible in a microstrip line. Okay. Then next is it requires, so as there is no perfect TM mode is possible, it requires advanced analysis techniques for this. The exact fields are a hybrid mode, as one of the dielectric is air and other one is in a physical dielectric material. So we can call it as in the fields are a hybrid. Exact fields are hybrid modes. EZ and HZ fields are there. Now see, for h divided by lambda naught very less than 1, dominant mode in this microstrip line is a quasi TEM mode. Now see, whenever we are using any of the dielectric material, then this dielectric material, height of this dielectric material, we are always choosing h must be very less than lambda naught. What is a lambda naught? Lambda naught is a free space wavelength. Lambda naught is a free space wavelength. To have a planar structure, always we are choosing the height of the dielectric material that should be very small. It should be very, very smaller than lambda naught. Now, if we are choosing this h very, very smaller than the lambda naught, then whatever the propagation of the signal that will take place in the Cauchy TEM mode. And what do you mean by a Cauchy TEM mode? That we will see first. Cauchy TEM mode means what? Whenever we are exciting this microstrip line, so this microstrip line, this is a ground-based dielectric, so this is a dielectric material, and this is a microstrip line having the weight W, and this above this microstrip line there is another dielectric material that is called as air. So when we are exciting this microstrip line with electric field and magnetic field, then the electric field and magnetic field radiated from this transmission line having the weight W, that will be indicated like this. See, this dark lines indicates an electric field and dotted line indicates a magnetic field. So if you see the excitation of the field or that is the radiation of the fields from this microstrip line, then you can see some of the electric field lines are going down in a dielectric substrate, and some of the microstrip lines are moving to the air. Similarly, some of the magnetic field lines are there in the dielectric, and some part of the magnetic field lines are there in the free space or in the air. So now when this signal, some of the signal is traveling through the dielectric material, and some of the signal is traveling through a free space. What will happen? See, the travel of the signal is called as the propagation of the signal. So the propagation velocity of the signal, we are always writing it as C under root of epsilon r, or we have written it like that 1 upon under root of mu r, mu naught epsilon r. So 1 upon under root of mu naught epsilon naught is equal to C. So we can write the propagation velocity of a dielectric of a signal, TM signal, is indicated by C upon under root of epsilon r. So when the signal is propagating, now half of the signal is propagating through the dielectric. When the signal is propagating through the dielectric, it is having a propagation velocity Vp is equal to C upon under root of epsilon r. But whatever the signal propagating through the free space, it will have Vp is equal to C, because epsilon r for an air, that is equal to 1. So the signal which is propagating through the air, that is having the phase velocity, or the propagation velocity equals to C, or and the signal which is traveling through the dielectric, that will have an Vp is equal to C upon under root of epsilon r. Now see, when that signal travels for some distance, then what will happen? The phase difference will occur within the signal, because one is traveling with C upon under root of epsilon r, and another one is traveling with an C. So there will be the phase difference in both of the signal as their velocities are different. If you measure this same signal at some distance, then the two signals will have a phase difference. So because of this phase difference occurring in between the electric field and the magnetic field, okay, the electric field component in the air, it is having the phase difference with an electric field component in the dielectric. Similarly, magnetic field component in the air will have a phase difference in the magnet as compared to the magnetic field components in the dielectric. So because of this phase difference, then because of this phase difference, whatever the mode of the travel, that is called as Cauchy TM, mode. Okay, it mode is called as Cauchy TEM mode, because when we are exciting this microstrip line, some of the signal will travel to the free space and some of the signal will travel to the dielectric, and when they travel for some distance, that there will be the phase difference occurs in the electric field as well as in a magnetic field. So the mode of propagation is called as Cauchy TEM mode, not a pure TEM mode. Then we will see the next part of the analysis of this microstrip line, that is the effective permittivity. Now see, whenever the signal is traveling to the free space, then what happens when the signal is traveling to the free space? Then or whenever the signal is traveling through the dielectric, what happens? The signal has to face two different types of an dielectric constant. Signal has to face two different types of an dielectric constant. So of the dielectric material, we are having the dielectric constant equals to epsilon r, and in the free space dielectric constant is indicated as epsilon naught. So the in general, whenever we are calculating the when we are analyzing this signal, then the first point in the analysis is the that many parameters depends upon a permittivity. Effective is the permittivity of the substrate. So as the signal is facing the two substrate, then the permittivity is indicated by epsilon e. It is indicated by an epsilon e, and it is called as effective permittivity. As this signal is facing both this air as well as dielectric substrate, the actual permittivity of the combined permittivity of these two dielectric materials is called as effective permittivity, and it is indicated by epsilon e. So this epsilon e can be calculated depending upon epsilon naught and epsilon r, as well as the width of a dielectric, that is a width of a microstrip line, that is W, and height of a dielectric H. So epsilon E is equal to epsilon R plus 1 divided by 2 plus epsilon R minus 1 divided by 2 multiplied by 1 upon under root of 1 plus 12 H by W. Now this epsilon E value depends upon W by H ratio, that is width of a microstrip line divided by the height of a dielectric material. If this W by H ratio is tending to 0 or it is nearly equal to 0, in that case epsilon E will have the formula epsilon R plus 1 divided by 2. And if this W by H ratio, if that is very large, that is if the width of a microstrip line is very large, then W by H will tend to infinity, and this epsilon E is equal to epsilon R. Okay. So if the W is having a very narrow value, that is if there is a narrow strip, this will be the epsilon E formula, and if the W is very wide, if the microstrip line is very wide, then epsilon E is equal to epsilon R. Because all other, that is analysis depends upon your epsilon E value, or other characteristics of the microstrip line depends upon an epsilon E value. So whenever we are analyzing any of the line, it's very important to have to calculate the characteristic impedance of the line. Okay, so this characteristic impedance of the line, that is indicated by Z0. Characteristic impedance of the line is indicated by Z0. And what is this Z0? Z0 will have two different options for finding out its value, depends upon the W by H ratio. If W by H ratio is less than or equal to 1, then Z0 can be found found as a 60 divided by under root of epsilon E natural logarithm of 8h upon W plus W upon 4h. Similarly, if W by H ratio is greater than or equal to 1, we have to apply the formula for Z0 at meta naught divided by under root of epsilon E W by H plus 1 upon 393 plus 0.667 a natural logarithm of a W by H plus 1.444. So this will be the characteristic impedance. And this formula, this basically when we are writing this formula is written by ignoring the that is changes in a frequency or frequency. It is a frequency independent. We are not taken in consideration. Now we are moving to the design of this microstrip line. The design of a microstrip line can be design of a microstrip line can be done, or a design is based upon the design means calculating the width of this microstrip line. So the width depends upon the characteristic impedance Z0. Width depends upon the characteristic impedance Z0 as well as the dielectric substrate that we are using for the construction or the design of this microstrip line. And for finding out this, the length can be anything. Okay, length doesn't matters in case of a microstrip line. So we can find out the W by inverting the formula for Z0. If we're inverting the formula that we have written for Z0, we can find out the W. So W by H ratio will have two versions. If the W by H ratio is less than or equal to 2, if this ratio is less than equal to 2, then the formula will be 8 e raised to a divided by e raised to 2a minus 2. So in this case, what is a? A is equal to z0 upon 60 multiplied by under root of epsilon r plus 1 divided by 2 plus epsilon r minus 1 divided by epsilon r plus 1 into 0.33 plus 0.11 divided by epsilon r. If the W by H ratio is greater than or equal to 2, then the W by H will have a formula 2 upon pi into b minus 1 minus ln 2b minus 1 plus epsilon r minus 1 divided by twice epsilon r in natural logarithm of b minus 1 plus 0.39 minus 0.61 upon epsilon r. So this will be the formula. And what is the b? P is equal to neta naught pi upon twice z0 into under root of epsilon r. So now you will say that already we are thinking about some value of a W by H, and then we are finding out the this remaining values. How it is possible? Because whenever we are finding out W, then we have to think about the hypothesis. So we have to consider this W by H less than equal to 2 first, and then we have to do the calculations. If they are matching or fitting to our specifications, then we have to go with that W by H ratio. If not, then we have to find out W by H by considering this hypothesis W by H is greater than or equal to 2 if it is not mentioned in the sums. Similarly, whenever we are designing any line, then the for calculating the attenuation constant is very important. The attenuation stands for an loss. So there are two types of the losses, or two types of the attenuations are possible in a microstrip line. First one is called as a dielectric loss, and another one is called as conductor loss. Dielectric loss is indicated as alpha d, and that is equal to k0 under root of epsilon r divided by 2 tan delta into under root of epsilon r epsilon e into multiply by epsilon e minus 1 divided by epsilon r minus 1. This total factor in the inside the bracket, that is called as filling factor. That is called as filling factor. When epsilon e is tending to 1, when epsilon e is tending to 1, alpha d will be tending to 0. And when epsilon e is tending to epsilon r, that is near to epsilon r, alpha d is equal to k0 under root of epsilon r upon 2 into tan delta, where tan delta is called as a loss tangent. Similarly, the conductor loss is equal to Rs divided by Z0 into W, nearly equal to Rs upon neta H, and Z0 is equal to neta H upon W. Here we are using this parallel plate approximation. By using this parallel plate approximation, we can write the conductor loss. So